Good Tuesday evening, everyone. It is August 29th, and we have two hurricanes out there. One is a major hurricane, was almost a category 5 at one point in Franklin. It has died down to a category 3 at the moment, but now we have Adelia revving up, and it's going to be a major hurricane anytime. And tonight is going to go through some massive, intense development tonight. Rapid intensification is possible. And if you all been following me on Facebook, I've been talking about since late last week of this possibility of a landfall of a high end category 3 to a possibly category 4 storm, and there is some room for this to go higher. A lot of things can happen overnight, and I'm going to show you the latest visible satellite imagery here in just a second. Alrighty, so here is Hurricane Franklin out here. Look at the eye wall in this thing. It's a major hurricane still. Not going to really impact the United States at all. There's a tropical storm warning out for Bermuda. The main thing is going to be big swells coming off this thing, and across the East Coast is going to be increased rip currents and some big wave action coming along the coast here, along the East Coast of the United States. Then we have Adelia down here, really getting its act together. 105-mile-an-hour hurricane. So it's going to be an intense hurricane before it makes landfall. It should be a major hurricane anytime. I would assume by the 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock Eastern advisory, this thing will be a Category 3 hurricane. And tonight is going to be critical in intense rapid intensification tonight. As this thing moves northeast, starting to gain a little bit more momentum now. I believe it's moving 16 miles an hour, but it's undergoing. It's over some very warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico, upper 80s to around 90 degrees, and the water temperature continues to get warm up as it starts moving northeast. So the fuel is there. The outflow is a lot better today. Yesterday, when I was off the tip of Cuba here, it was fighting some westerly shear and some drier air coming in. So that hindered it from really taking off yesterday. But overnight, it developed into a hurricane. That westerly shear kind of slackened off, and now it's really taken off up here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And we have this trough coming in as well, the steering current. We have a trough out here. We actually have a high pressure ray out here is going to be switching out, sucking out towards the Atlantic here. And then this thing's going to start riding northeast and then across parts of Georgia into South Carolina, North Carolina. I'm going to show you the watches and warnings here in just a second, and possible storm surge as well. And then there is models out there taking this thing up by North Carolina and then swinging it out, then coming back towards Florida and then into the Gulf next week. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. So this sucker doesn't have an eye at the moment, but as we go to sleep tonight and you wake up tomorrow morning, it's gonna have that gut-wrenching eye on it. On this hurricane, and it's going to be a major hurricane, possibly getting into a Cat 4 category as we head through tonight. I've seen these things rapidly go from a Category 1 to a high-end Category 4 in 24 to 36 hours before. So there's about 24 hours now, probably less than that until landfall. 12 to 24 hours to landfall or so. But tonight, this thing will really pick up steam. Big Bend area of Florida is the target at the moment, and I'm going to show you the track here. All right, here is the latest advisory on Hurricane Adelia. Maximum sustained winds are up to 105 miles per hour. Movement is north at 16. It's going to have the start moving northeast as we head through tonight. And like I said, we have tropical storm warnings in the blue here, all the way up to North Carolina. Tropical storm watches along the outer banks of North Carolina as well. And then hurricane warnings, basically from parts of the Panhandle through the Big Bend area down through Tampa Bay as well. They're going to see some storm surge as well of 3 to 5 feet, I believe. We'll take a look at that. This hurricane's actually down to 965 millibars, and it continues to strengthen and go down. The winds will respond. Like I said, I fully expect this to be a major hurricane at the next advisory, and then overnight, it's going to rapidly intensify, and then in the morning, you're going to wake up to that like I said, that gut wrenching, that notorious big eye. You could see all the way down to the surface of the ocean there, of the Gulf, and it's just not going to be good news for parts of this area. So uh, up here towards the Big Bend area, 10 to 15 feet of storm surge is possible, and then you're going to have wave action on top of that, destructive wave action. So big time surge coming in up here, basically from Yankeetown all the way up to the Akula River. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Either side of that, 7 to 11 feet in the red here. Orange, 4 to 7 feet. Actually 4 to 7 feet up here, 6 to 9 feet down here just north of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay itself, 4 to 6 feet of storm surge is possible. And then as you head towards the Keys, 1 to 2 feet is possible. Now, if you get up here towards Georgia, down through parts of South Carolina here, mouth of the St. Mary's River up to South Sanity River, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge is possible. 1 to 3 from there up to Beaufort Inlet, and then 2 to 4 feet from there up to Drum Inlet, and then 1 to 3 feet along the Outer Banks up to Duck as well. So the Pamlico and Pungo rivers in 2 to 4 feet, and 2 to 4 feet Bay Rivers as well. So big time surge coming. It could be over this as well, especially if it gets up to a Cat 4 or higher of a hurricane. You can expect 15 plus feet in some of these areas, plus massive wave action on top of that, destructive waves coming in. So this is going to be one for the history books for the Big Bend area as this comes northeast through this area late tonight into tomorrow morning by midday. Now comes that was besides storm surge, they're going to have freshwater flooding as well. Okay, from this, you got 6 to 10 inches in the orange here, basically around the panhandle of Florida here, up through parts of Georgia, through Augusta, South Carolina, and then through Hatteras. That's the Outer Banks here. 6 to 10 inches is possible. The yellow, 4 to 6, dark green, 2 to 4. And then the light green is 1 to 2. So Tampa Bay looks to get around about 3 to 4 inches of rain out of this with these bands, these feeder bands coming through tonight. You're going to be into some possibly 60 to 70 mile an hour gusts into Tampa Bay, plus that storm surge as well. So I've already seen there's been plenty of precautions in the lower lying areas, and a lot of evacuations that is happening as well. If you are being told to evacuate, you need to evacuate, okay? Because this sucker, it means business. This time yesterday, it was a tropical storm, okay, and it's already approaching major hurricane strength of Category 3, and it's going to continually intensify all the way to landfall. So we're going to be looking, like I said, possibly a high-end Cat 3 to a Cat 4, maybe a little bit higher than that across the Big Bend area of Florida. Here's a national look. There's hurricane warnings all the way inland through Florida into parts of southern Georgia as well. Tropical storm warnings, most of southern Georgia in through the coastal areas of South Carolina up to far southeastern parts of North Carolina. Then you have tropical storm watches all the way up to the Virginia, North Carolina line here along the coast, Outer Banks. Got tropical storm watches up here just north of the tropical storm warnings in Georgia and South Carolina. And of course, like I said, there's going to be flooding with this massive amounts of rain that's going to come down in a short period of time across a lot of this area. Okay, so batten down the hatches, especially up here in Florida through parts of Georgia into South Carolina. Besides the surge, very heavy rain and very gusty winds, sustained winds of over hurricane force is possible all the way into southern parts of Georgia with gusts way over that. So, like I said, as of right now, it's 105 mile per hour hurricane. with gusts up to probably 120, 125 miles an hour. This is expected to become a Cat 4. We've been talking about it since last Friday, thinking a high-end Cat 3 to a Cat 4 coming into this area. I know there's so much attention on Adelia, but we also have Franklin here, 125 mile per hour major hurricane still. Central pressure is 947. It actually came up, and its movement is northeast at 12 miles an hour. We also have a new tropical depression out here. Tropical depression 11. Central pressure down at 1,014 millibars, right around 35 mile an hour winds. And the movement is north-northwest at about 2 miles an hour. We also have a 20% chance of development out here towards just off Africa over the next 48 hours. Okay. So the major story is Adelia, but Franklin's been a monster out here as well. On top of that, with landfalling tropical systems, there's always spin in the atmosphere, and you're going to have some spin up tornadoes here in the slight risk area for the rest of today and tonight. And then as we go through tomorrow, this risk is going to start spreading up the East Coast for Wednesday, basically from Jacksonville to Savannah, Hilton Head, Charleston, up to Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, Cape Lookout, Cape Hatteras. The white right front quadrant of this thing is the most intense part of the system, but basically the right half of the hurricanes will have you some spin up tornadoes. The biggest threat of the spin up tornadoes come through with these heavier bands that feed out from the center of the storm. All right, here's one more look at Adelia. It's down to 965 millibars. Maximum sustained winds is 105. This is as of 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday the 29th. We will wake up to a very strong hurricane in the morning with that gut-wrenching eye as soon as we get a visible satellite imagery about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. This thing was going to be rapidly intensifying all the way to the coast to landfall, that is. So like I said, if you are being told to evacuate, you need to get out. All right? I can't say that enough. All right, so please be safe out there. This thing is not going to be done after tomorrow. By tomorrow afternoon, it's going to be into southern parts of Georgia. Still a hurricane there. Some probably gusts up to 100 miles an hour or so across parts of Georgia. We do have a hurricane watch out for parts of South Carolina into Georgia as well. This thing is going to become a tropical storm by early Thursday morning, and then get back over water on Thursday and Friday. We're going to see if it re-strengthens or not. And then this, like I said, there is models out there trying to curve this thing back towards Florida and into the Gulf of Mexico as we go into next week. So stay tuned for sure. Please stay safe out there. Listen to your local officials. If you have any family down there, if they're being told to evacuate, they need to get out, because this thing is going to be a monster when you wake up in the morning. All right. Like I said, stay safe. Thank you all for watching. Have a great evening, everyone.